Have you ever wondered how two people can look at the exact same thing and see two completely different realities? Well, today we are diving deep into one of the most extreme examples of that. We're looking at two worldviews that are a perfect, and I mean perfect, irreconcilable mirror of each other.
And it all starts with a question that people have been obsessed with for centuries. What exactly is the Masonic secret? Is it some key to enlightenment, or is it a pact with something, well, something much, much darker? Turns out the answer completely depends on who you ask.
And right at the very heart of this whole mystery is this incredibly provocative idea, a quote that really just sums up the whole thing. To become a god, you must first cease to be a man. Now, what does that even mean? Does it mean you're perfecting your humanity, or are you destroying it? For some, that isn't just philosophy. It's a literal, step-by-step instruction manual.
So let's start with that first interpretation. This is the conspiratorial view, the one that sees a dark, hidden agenda moving behind the scenes, all rooted in a very specific and very ancient belief system.
And the engine driving this whole viewpoint is something called Gnosticism. Now, in this interpretation, Gnosticism isn't some dusty old philosophy. Oh no, it's seen as an active religion for a secret elite. And get this, it teaches that the God of the Bible, the Creator, is actually the villain. He's like a cosmic jailer who trapped all of our souls inside these physical bodies.
So, how do you cease to be a man in this worldview? Well, it's laid out as a pretty shocking four-step process. First, you join. Then, the initiate has to perform what the source material calls the unthinkable ritual, a deeply transgressive act with an animal. The whole point is to completely shatter your own humanity. And the final step? You flip the entire biblical story on its head and you worship the serpent from the Garden of Eden.
And that's the crucial point here. The ultimate goal is total, complete inversion. You break every single natural law, not just for the sake of chaos, but for a very specific reason. To rewrite the entire cosmic story, turning heroes into villains, and you guessed it, villains into heroes. It's a deeply disturbing picture, but, and this is a huge but, it's only one side of the mirror. So now, let's flip it. Let's look at the other side and see how the exact same pieces build a completely different reality. This isn't the conspiracist's version of Gnosticism, this is the Gnostic's own view. It's a perspective that pulls from ancient texts, some that were only found in the last century, that claims to hold the real hidden meaning.
And this brings us to the big question. What if this whole thing isn't a story about evil at all? What if, from the inside looking out, it's seen as this profound story about liberation from a tyrant? Now, to get our heads around this, we need to understand two key concepts.
First, you've got the exoteric. Think of this as the surface-level, literal meaning of a story or a symbol. It's what you see at first glance, right? The conspiratorial view we just looked at, that's a perfect example of an exoteric reading. It takes everything at face value. A goat is a goat, a serpent is a serpent.
But then you have the esoteric. This is the hidden symbolic meaning, the stuff that's only intended for the initiates. And this perspective argues that if you read these symbols literally, you are missing the entire point. The real message isn't on the surface, it's a code.
So from this esoteric point of view, the whole narrative just gets flipped on its head. It's not a satanic inversion at all. It's a sacred rebellion. Yeah, that prison warden god is definitely seen as the bad guy. But the goal isn't to embrace evil. It's to break free from what they see as an oppressive system and reclaim the divine spark that they believe is every human's birthright.
Okay, this is where it gets really fascinating. Let's put these two worldviews right next to each other, head to head, and just see how they interpret the exact same symbols in completely opposite ways.
Let's start with the serpent in the Garden of Eden. Okay, so in the conspiratorial view, he's the ultimate bad guy, right? The deceiver who caused the fall of man. But in the Gnostic view, he's the ultimate hero. He's the light bringer, Lucifer, the one who offered humanity the forbidden knowledge they needed to wake up and be free.
So, what about the goat? Well, for the conspiratorial side, it's the symbol of the damned, the rebel who rejects God, the object of that perverse ritual we talked about. But for the Gnostics, the goat is a symbol of the noble individualist, the brave soul who refuses to be just another sheep in the flock, blindly following a shepherd.
And you see this divide perfectly when you look at the figure of Baphomet. For one side, it's a terrifying, demonic, half-beast monster that represents the end of humanity. For the other side, it's this profound symbol of cosmic balance, the union of spirit and matter, light and dark, male and female.
a perfected whole self.
So, how is that even possible? How can one symbol be both a monster and a god? This final part of our analysis gets into the really strange, almost codependent relationship between these two enemies.
There's actually a term for this phenomenon. It's called hermeneutic inversion. I know it's a mouthful, but the idea is simple. It's when two groups look at the exact same evidence, but because they're using a different interpretive key, they come to completely opposite moral conclusions. They're not arguing about the facts, they're arguing about what the facts mean.
And what's so wild is how these two views actually need each other. Think about it. The conspiracist needs a literal, hidden villain to expose and fight. And the Gnostic needs a literal, oppressive authority to rebel against. They're totally locked in this symbiotic conflict, where one person's Satan is the other's liberator. Each side's story proves that the other side is right.
And that just leaves us with this final, kind of haunting question. Are these two worldviews really opposites, or are they just a perfect reflection of each other staring back from across a mirror, unable to exist without the other one's shadow? It really makes you wonder if sometimes the biggest conflicts aren't about different truths, but about the very same truth, just seen from two sides of a divide that can never be crossed.